Welcome to another Candid conversation with Reverend Erma. Today, we are going to be talking about finance and COVID. There's so many interesting things that we have on these Candid conversations. And we are challenged in so many ways. And even though these are serious conversations, they are always going to be relaxed because we need not to be stressed out. So here to discuss with me today is Gregory Hinkson. And Gregory, I have a speech impediment. Gregory Hinkson, and he's an accountant, more than qualified to carry us through some discussion with regards to finances because a whole host of us are challenged. So my first thing is with the dialogues about job loss, because it's real, loss of income, the rough situations that a whole host of people are in. How can we budget in these tough times?
First and foremost, thank you very much for the opportunity, and I look forward to having this candid conversation with you guys. What I would say first is that it is a challenge that we've encountered because of COVID. You know, a year ago, if somebody had said, a year from now we'll be impacted in ways that we are actually seeing now, most of us would have said, you're making sport.
Bare sport.
Bare sport.
Yes.
Or if somebody would say, you know, there is something that is going to happen that is going to cause our unemployment situation in order to rise to the level it is, you say, nah, that's not going to happen. So, but we're here. And it is an issue that we're going to have to live with in ways that we had not given consideration to. But specific to your question, it's caused some serious issues with persons, you know, because one day you are working in a good job and the next day you are not. And the challenge with that is dealing with the fallout of it. I'm talking to a number of persons because one of the things I do is financial counseling, and especially for persons who may have found themselves out of a job. And essentially, at this particular point in time, what do I do? But it should have started a long time ago. So I take you,
we should have prepared,
I'm going to test you. Genesis chapter 41. You know what remember that what is?
Please tell me.
This is when Pharaoh had the dream about 7. Mm-hmm. And remember, he got Joseph to interpret that dream. And remember what that 7 meant. There's 7 years of plenty, and then there's going to be 7 years of famine. But what happened in that 7 years of plenty? Remember, it says that 1/5 of whatever was harvested was stored so that when you got to that 7 years of famine, it wasn't a problem. So I use that as the example to say to persons, one of the things that you need to do is save. You hear this term all the time, saving for a rainy day. Mm-hmm. But you never know when that rain is going to come. Correct. So in actual fact, you need to be prepared for it. And one of the challenges that we find, or that I found in talking to people, is that they never figured that rainy day would have come. Yeah. So one of the things that we always say is budget. Budget is one of your key components. And now, more than ever, when you budget, what is those items that are necessities? Mm-hmm. And what are those items that are absolute, you know, you need them? You know, it's like, I got to pay my rent, I got to pay my mortgage, I got to feed my children. I don't necessarily need that new pair of shoes. I don't need to take that weekend trip to North America or even to St. Lucia or St. Vincent. So therefore, that is what you now need to start to budget for. But I always say part of that is savings. So in actual fact, save for a rainy day. So literally, when this event comes about, I am not scrambling. I no longer have money coming in. How can I pay my mortgage? How can I pay my rent? How can I pay for my food? How can I pay my utilities? So that's the very first thing that I would say. Budget and have something put aside for that rainy day when that rainy day comes.
But now the rainy day is here, and we never thought that it would come. So what do we do now?
And that's really a question that we're seeing. And you see people going to survival mode. And that survivorship is looking to do anything that they could possibly do. So I'll give you an example. I mentioned about financial counseling. And there was one person who was an accountant at the company that she was working for. And she was laid off. And immediately she went into survival mode. And survival mode for her was now doing something that she absolutely loved. And you know what that was? She took the money from the organization and she bought 3 weed whackers and 2 lawnmowers. And she's now started a company in order to cut grass and do that. And it is growing. It's actually mushroom in a relatively short period of time. So we always look at these things and say, what is the silver lining? And all of these have a silver lining. And it is an opportunity for you to do something that you may be thinking about, but you felt so comfortable in your organization that you didn't step out. Here's an opportunity now where the organization is kicked out or they kicked you out. So you have no choice but to then pursue it. And we've seen a number of persons pursuing entrepreneurial opportunities because of necessity. No, I have to survive. I have to survive.
So we are having a number of small businesses mushrooming around the place, a lot of kitchen gardens and so on and so forth. But the service that they offer will cost money. So is it going to be sustainable? Do you see us going around, or do you see us coming out of this situation in a hurry? Because Barbados, as it is, tourism is our livelihood, our lifeblood. The borders are opening slowly. Recently, I heard that we've been one of the countries recently, I just said recently, we are one of the countries that people are advising not to come to. So if that is in the air, how are these projects going to be sustained? Is that a reality?
No, Reverend. If I had the answer to that question, I would be sitting advising the government as to exactly what to do. But the issue is, this is such a fluid situation. We don't know what is going to happen. We talk about COVID, and one of the experts would say that it is actually going to get worse as the temperatures drop. So therefore, as you start to open up your borders from persons who may be coming from colder climates, then unless you have it down pat in terms of your protocol, it could mean that you may actually start to see that spill-off effect. The challenge is, as you rightly said, is that tourism is that #1 engine. And a mentor of mine talk about it as a big cog, because there are a number of small elements that feed off of that. So therefore, you think about tourism, hotels, restaurants, but it is the jet ski operator, it is the taxi driver, it is the tour operators, it's the lady who braid hair on the beach. And all of those are now come to a standstill because your key cog, being tourism, has now come to a stop somehow. So those persons who would have relied on that now have 2 choices. Do I wait for that to come back, or do I possibly go and do something else? Some of them have decided that I'm going to do something else. We're going to see what happens when tourism comes back, and what form is tourism going to look like when it comes back, because what our concept of tourism may actually change significantly, the second time around. We are in a difficult situation. We're in a tough situation, and persons are required or expected to make decisions in isolation because you not know exactly what is going to happen. And that is a scary part, because we always thought that decision making is based on appropriate decisions being made. But when you have the information being so unclear, how can you make right decisions based on this information?
That is not clear.
That is not clear. That is not clear. That is not clear.
So we have to find alternatives to produce some hope. And how do what kind of tips would you offer in terms, I know budgeting, but what else can we do in terms of our finance to ensure that we are able to weather this tide or weather it for as long as possible? Are those options that we have?
We don't have a choice.
We don't have a choice.
We don't have a choice because unless you're a person who basically say, I'm prepared to give up, there is always hope. You know, it's like once you have breath and life, there is always hope. Because we don't know what is going to happen tomorrow, but we know something is going to happen tomorrow. And that tomorrow may be the opportunity that you may actually be waiting on. In this case, I would say persons take it day by day, day by day. So, you know, we end up in a situation where you're laid off, you may have gotten, you know, severance payment. And there's always the instinct, let me go pay off my debt immediately. And then the question is, when are you going to get back to work? Is it next week? Is it next month? Is it next 3 months? Is it next 6 months? Is it next year? So therefore, if you now have this lump sum amount and you pay off your debt, what happens in 3 months' time when you're still out of a job? What happens in 6 months' time when you're out of a job? You're going to sit back and say, you know what, maybe I should not have done that. So it requires a lot of planning. And in some cases, it may require talking to somebody, because in situations like that, you may not be thinking rationally. You may be thinking, this is what I need to do, as opposed to sitting down and talking to somebody, and when you talk to them and they rationalize it out, you realize that I may make a completely different decision to the decision that I was actually going to make.
That sounds quite feasible, actually, because I was thinking as soon as I get my lump sum of money, I got to clear my debts. So when I clear my debts, now I can't eat for the rest of the year because I might not have a job. So that's something I truly have to think about. Any other pointers, any other tips? Because that is truly, you really need to talk and have a conversation.
Well, one of the things in growing up, I see, you know, I look at my grandparents, and one of the things that they did a lot was a concept of bartering.
Bartering.
So, bartering. So if you live in the country, my grandmother would give somebody something in exchange for something else. And we may not necessarily have money to give, and the person may not necessarily have money to give, but they may have something, some breadfruits. And what can I give them in return for that? So it could be the offer of a service, it could be offer of a time in order to do something for them, and just basically allow us in order to get through this. The question is, how long is this going to exist?
And none of us have any idea. Gregory, it was fun chatting with you, and believe it or not, we have gone full circle. All time something come back again. We have to exchange, we have to barter. These are the things that we need to do. And before you spend your lump sum, whatever that is, just talk to somebody. Have a little patience.
Yes,
Thank you so much.
You're most welcome. Most welcome.
Don't get anywhere. We'll be right back.
Children, answer the call and let me do this one like a basketball and bounce back, bounce back. School open up and we going back. Bounce back, bounce back. Make sure your school books in the hammer sack. Bounce back, bounce back. Positive attitude must be intact. Bounce back, bounce back. Be vigilant and be on track. Yes, enjoy your learning when you go back to class. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, do your math. Any test the teacher give ya, work hard and pass. Full marks every time, smile and laugh. Respecting your teachers, that's the right path. Make your parents proud, that's the next half. Returning to school, happiness, full blast. Protocol still on the broadcast, so make sure that you sanitize and put on your mask. And bounce back, bounce back. School open up and we going back. Bounce back, bounce back. Hey,
Spinning here again. You guys know the time when one teacher leaves and you guys are waiting for the next teacher to come and start the next class? Get up, open the feet. Come. We can do a little exercise. Come. Twist with me. Come. Twist. We're going to get more advanced now. Come. Bring it down. Keep twisting. And twist. Beautiful. Job well done. Now sit and wait on the teacher.
Welcome back to Candid Conversations with me, Reverend Erma. And on this occasion, we are going to be pizza making, believe it or not. I am going to be assisting with the pizza making. And I'm going to be assisting our guest, Sanshia Padmore. It's so good to have you.
Nice to be here.
Wonderful. So tell me about your business. It's called Sammy Desert.
Yes. Well, we started last year in May, and we are a pizza making business. We're located in Holders Hill, and we started off doing gluten-free pizzas and also regular pizzas.
Gluten-free?
Yes, please.
Okay, and the regular pizzas?
Yes.
Okay, so you have a market for the gluten-free?
Yeah. Yes, we do.
Wow. And
we use local sweet potatoes to make the crust. To make the crust per person.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Okay. I've never heard about it.
Yes, and I did have a client who wanted cauliflower, so we made cauliflower for him as well. And we also do cassava.
Wow.
Yeah.
All local.
All local.
Awesome.
Yes.
So, I think pizzas is take a while because you know how you cut. Do you have a what you call beforehand to get these pizzas? And I'm not gonna have the opportunity to call in, so I think we're gonna have to be
doing it right here, right now.
Doing it right here, right now,
okay.
And I do not know how long it's gonna take.
Okay, we'll see.
So,
we'll have a timer. We'll put up a timer on the screen, and we'll see.
You trust me to help you?
I'm here to help you. We're gonna make it easy. Me and my homegirl, Pepperoni.
I always get confused.
This is Pepperoni, and she's gonna be my assistant. This is my girl.
This is your girl?
Yeah, she always got my back.
She always got your back. Okay,
you ready?
I trust her, I trust you. Yes,
it's true.
I'm ready.
Ready?
Yes,
okay,
I'm
so
ready.
the first one that we're gonna do is that we're gonna do a meat pizza. We're gonna do a pepperoni pizza, so we're gonna put the cheese on top. And then I'm gonna let you put the pepperonis on. You could put as many as you want on there.
Okay, so meat pizza coming up.
So
for all you meat lovers out there.
Spread the cheese. The cheese is mozzarella. We only use mozzarella at our.
And what is that? I can't use any other cheese?
We don't provide any other cheese.
Okay, that's the best pizza.
That's the best one.
That's the best.
That's how I learned. That's how I was taught, and that's what I use.
And where did you learn?
I went to culinary school in Canada, but I did my first year at Pomeranian. Then I got a scholarship, and I went to Canada and did my second year.
Awesome.
Yes, I
did.
did.
So what am I supposed to be doing here?
You just put the pepperonis on top, however you wish to put them on.
I just did my ablutions. I washed my hands. Can I actually use my hands, or you want me to put
you
on
can
some
use
gloves?
your hands. It's your pizza.
Oh yes, it is my pizza.
I'm going to start this one.
So,
this is the vegetarian one.
We have to separate these things?
Yes, you do. You don't want them to stick together.
Okay.
Or not. The one at the bottom. The one at the top is going to cook before the one at the bottom.
Okay. And I could put on as much pepperoni as I want, right?
You can put on as much pepperoni as you want.
And can I add some? I see you have, this is
pineapple. Yes.
So can I add some pineapple?
It's your pizza.
It's
I'm not going to stop you.
You're not going to stop. So on this meat pizza, we're going to also have pineapple.
Yes.
And I like green peppers. I like a colorful display. What do you think? Can I try that?
Do it.
Do it. Do it. Do it. She says do it. Do
that
it, do
makeshift ice cold and green.
Yes, it's true. It's true. It's true. I think after this, I am going to be a somewhat, what's the first level?
A commie chef?
A commie chef.
You could be a commie chef?
Yeah, but only for my household, please. No orders. If not, you will have to pay very dearly. Oh yes, can I have some onions?
Sure. So now we're gonna head over to the oven.
That's your girl?
Yeah, this is my girl, Pepperoni. She a boss.
And her name is Pepperoni?
Her name is Pepperoni. It was voted by the people.
Excuse me. Here we go.
So we're gonna open her.
Oh, it's an actual her?
Yeah, it's a her.
Okay.
We're gonna put them in.
That heat is
Kicking.
kicking.
It kicks. You could put in the second one if you want.
Oh my word.
Push,
Oh,
push, push.
oh.
Don't be afraid. Don't be scared.
I'm afraid of the heat.
Don't be scared. And now she's gonna cook. If you can look from the window, there's a window right here. You can see how they're cooking, and you can also see the flame.
Yes, I see the flame. How long? Oh yes, I see the flame. How long is that gonna take?
We tend to do it in 2 to 3 minutes, depending on how many toppings you have on. Yeah. So the more toppings that you have, obviously it takes a longer time, but that's all it takes, 2 to 3 minutes. Yeah.
Yes, and then we're gonna actually eat
Yeah.
the pizza in 2 to 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Boy, this is serious on Candid Conversations.
We're gonna get you together. So as you can tell, if you look here and you look at yours, it's already turning.
It's turning.
As you can see. There's yours.
Yes, I see the nice crisps. Your girl is really has your back.
She does. She does. Took me a while to get her, but she does.
Okay. So how long have you been in existence, you said?
We've been in existence for just a year.
Okay.
Just a year's time. So we've been able to do quite a few pop-ups. A lot of people want us to have pop-ups.
Okay. Pop-ups is the new thing?
Yeah, it's the new thing. It's like the best way for you to also find persons who want you, because they will come to you instead of you just putting yourself out there and not knowing who it is. So our first one is done.
It seems like it is ready.
Oh my goodness, don't. Come.
And it smells delicious.
Second one.
Awesome. And these are personal pans, huh?
Yeah,
I
these
know
are.
that.
Yes, these are. So what we're gonna do is that we're gonna cut it. This is kind of hot, so hold it and cut.
Oh, I'm gonna watch you cut. You don't mind?
I don't mind.
Yes, please.
One.
Okay. That's number one. And that's my pizza, everybody.
And this one is number 2.
I should have asked you, was this regular flour?
Yes.
Or was this the gluten?
No, this is regular flour.
Okay, good.
The gluten one is a crust, so it will actually look like a crust is flatter, and you could actually see the sweet potatoes and stuff.
Oh, okay. So all of you gluten-free, gluten lovers, Sammy Desert is where you need to connect to.
Let's take this off, right? Watch this off, don't get burned.
Man, my chef knows exactly what she's doing.
We're doing it for a hot minute.
A hot minute. Now, what they say, the test is in the pudding. The pudding is
the truth is in the pudding.
The truth is in the pudding. Yes, the something is in the pudding, but now it's in the pizza. Trust me. I see where you use
pepperoni,
the mozzarella.
Yes, you get that pull.
Because you get that pull.
Yes.
And I am going to be biting into the pizza that I made. And it is divine. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And you said we can find you?
Oh, you can find me on Instagram, on Facebook, and on Twitter. It's Sammy Desert. And you can also call us. Our number is 831-2333.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
It's truly been a pleasure on Candid Conversations. Reverend Erma, making pizza, please do not call me.
Hello? Mosquito complaints, people? There's Missy the mosquito. You believe I went and worked the night shift down there, what part of the building, that new house. And you imagine I come back home and all my children, my eggs, my whole family gone. We had so many eggs in tires, bottle caps, even old toys and plants. Whichever part we could get a little water, we had eggs. Me and my husband decided to start with family here because we know we could have provided a good life for them. My family never had to do without. All of a sudden, everything gone. And these humans so bad-minded. Not only them empty out the water, but they clean down the whole place and kill every single egg. And they here hungry as ever, and everybody got that bad smelling perfume, and I can't get a bite to eat. If these people keep this up, I can't survive. I only hope that the people next door ain't doing this foolishness too. So I want you to call GIS and the radio and the TV stations and tell them that if people keep cleaning up and getting rid of the water around their property, this could be a serious crisis. This could wipe out the entire mosquito population. We need your help. We can't do it without you. Help me to bite you.
Take the bite out of dengue. Clean up your surroundings and wear mosquito repellent and protective clothing at peak biting times. Call the Mosquito Complaints Hotline to report any challenges with mosquitoes at 536-4163. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness and the Barbados Government Information Service.
I love making friends out on the reef where I work. There are no dirty pipes, and the water and reef here are clean and healthy. But the reef where I live is not as healthy as it used to be. The runoff from those pipes is killing the coral and the sea life. I wish my reef was clean and healthy again.
There are lots of things we can do to make Terry's dream come true.
Let's do our part to keep the coastlines clean, safe, fun, and climate resilient. To protect our coast, the Coastal Zone Management Unit did some studies to make Barbados better at managing its coastal and marine resources while including disaster risk management and climate change adaptation. My coast, my home, my future. To find out more about how you can help, follow the Coastal Zone Management Unit on social media or visit www.coastal.gov.bb.
Welcome back to Candid Conversations. Last time we left off, we were talking with the hospital director, the psychiatric hospital director, Mr. I have a way of doing that. I baptize people, okay? Yes, so that's something to look forward to.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so David Leacock, and also the occupational therapist Sid Birch Prescott, and Joel Barrow, our drug therapist, and he's a nursing officer at the psychiatric hospital.
That's good.
We are so happy that you could join us again.
Thank you. Yes.
When we wrapped up last time, we ended our talk about children. What can the psychiatric hospital do in terms of assisting children? And I did say that we perhaps need to talk about parents as well. How can we cope in this new era? So just rewind for me there with regards to the children. What are some things that we can do in terms of helping children to focus? And then the biggest topic, the parents, because I think we are the ones who are in the hot seat, having to work, having now to become teachers, having to become everything that we never thought we would. Here we go.
So again, I will go back to something that Mr. Leacock said in our last time that we were here, adjusting to this new situation that's fluid. It's important that you take this all and look at the bigger picture. The end goal is you want your child to be able still to be in a school atmosphere, still to learn. What can you do? So I tell parents, step back a bit and then think. Because if you don't step back, guess what? the frustrations are there, you're feeling stressed. Oh goodness, what am I going to do? Step back, calm yourself down and start looking at things. Yes? Now, I would say to the parents, I'm with the parents. The last time I said we communicate.
Yes.
We set the structure and we have patience.
Patience.
One thing I also tell parents, don't expect that this is a new situation. Remember, we're adjusting. That your child will sit for a whole hour and do one subject. I like to say break it up. Break it up into 15 to 20 minute slots, take a little break, and then you go back. You find that way it's easier for the child to concentrate, to pay attention, and then get on with the task at hand. But when we do the whole hour, it's extremely difficult. Okay, and you, the parent, get frustrated as well because they're not focusing. They have lost focus after half an hour or less. So we're saying you break that larger portion of work into small slots. So it's communicate, have patience, break down your task into smaller pieces, and you set the structure.
Set the structure. The structure.
Another point I would tell parents, it's important that you, when you're giving directions, be clear and concise. We as adults like to say, do A, B, C, D, E. Oh gee, by the time you reach E, the child has forgotten what A is. So I'm saying you give your instructions clearly and concisely, one at a time. Let them do that and then you move on. You find with that, it's easier for the child to maintain attention, do this, finish, and then move on. So those are some simple ways when we do our parenting and parenting skills, we teach some of the parents.
Parenting skills is critical.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So before you go on to that, because I want to touch on to what Sid has mentioned, the fact that I appreciate that if you are taking on something new,
yes,
that in itself can be a stressor for you. Teachers have years of experience managing children. We go to Edison, we're taught how to manage a classroom, how to, if you're teaching maths, how to teach maths. If you're teaching English, how to teach English. So they've been taught how to do it. As a parent, unless you are a teacher, you're trying it for the first time. And I always tell persons with my children, I would pay somebody else to teach them, and I would teach your children for you. Because they're my children, I mean, get a little less understanding sometimes when it comes to them.
Yes,
and I lose my cool a little faster when it comes to my kids.
Yes,
so I would sometimes send lessons, and I would perhaps, if you want me to teach your child something, I would take my nephew or my niece, and I can get what I'm trying to teach them, my kids, taught to these. I'm a lot more patient with them because they're not my kids. Somehow with your own children, you don't tend to sometimes have the patience you should have with your own kids. So as a parent, you got to forgive yourself sometimes. Understand it's not always going to be easy to take on these new roles. So give yourself a little credit for stepping up to the plate, but also just said, understand that it's going to take time to get to, you're not going to become a teacher overnight.
Definitely.
So it's going to take you time to just get the simple thing you would think are so easy for you to do every day at school. It's going to take you a while to get to understand it. And you said an important part about parenting skills. Beyond these skills, let's say that Joel deal with the skills that parents might need to be taught, but what I'll say is also support systems. We tend to find that many parents join WhatsApp groups or other social media platform groups, or you're almost drafted in. When you go to a school, sometimes you're told, give us your email, give us your number, we will link you and give you information concerning the schools. And then you find that what's coming to you is not always stuff you really want to know about or hear about. You might start seeing teacher lynching going on in the same WhatsApp group. That's not constructive. So you want to provide a support system that parents feel as though I'm not alone. You know, so it's a case where you can actually speak openly about these things, where persons can say, well, I had this experience. And to hear somebody else say, well, okay, I also had a similar experience and I dealt with it this way. So sometimes hearing somebody else who's going through a similar situation to you and how they manage to overcome the situation can help you. Does it mean that every situation that they have, that you're going to be able to use the same things they did and get the same results? But at least you know that if it's nothing else, someone else is struggling as I am. And that in itself can be therapeutic to persons to know that there is somebody else out there who's having the same challenge that I am having. So and I said, I'll let Sid and Joel tell you some of the things that perhaps as a parent, the skills that you might, or what they do to help parents when it comes to parent skills.
And as you consider what you're going to share with me, in that same scenario or that equation are the teachers as well, because some of them are perhaps new, you know, so I want you to touch on that as well. I know you can't touch everything, but let me go with the parents now and also the teachers.
Yes.
Well, what I want to say about parenting, to add to what Mr. Lee and Sid said, listening is something that I think that parents need to do a little more, especially within this thing. You may have the child who is accustomed to, like Mr. Lee said, accustomed to being in a class where they actually have supervision, and therefore the teacher is able to pay them attention that maybe the parent who now due to COVID actually is working from home and actually is balancing working while supervising the child during the class. They might not pay the child as much attention as a teacher when actually pay the child. So therefore they need to listen to the child. Maybe there might be something that the child needs explaining that a teacher, if they're in class, would be able to explain to them, but the teacher's not there. So therefore the parent now has that responsibility now to actually teach the child, or at least explain to the child what it is that's actually going on. So I would say listening is a very big part within this new norm that we're calling it in terms of COVID and teaching, at least for me. Sid might have some other points to put in, but
yeah, that listening,
I think listening is very critical.
Listening is key. I don't know if we will be able to ever take the place of the teacher, because so many things have changed since I was going to school.
Yes.
But certainly we have to work it because it is our new norm, I have to say. All right, Sid?
I want to talk to remind parents as well who's looking at the show, positive reinforcement is important at this time as well.
Positive reinforcement.
Yes, in terms of praise, in terms of you did this well. Remember, this is new to all of us.
True.
And as parents and as under our own stressors and frustrations, we forget to when in communicating, to tell the child, oh, you did well with this. That's a job well done. And you would be amazed to see what those few words would do to the self-esteem of your child. And then you start getting, from that, the child propels and does other things just as well.
Wonderful.
But you have to be consistent with that. Now, that does not mean that you take away the punishment that you may have to give at some time. Removal of some privileges as well. But you see, you have to balance those two. Yes?
Yes.
So that the child understands there are consequences to whatever I do. Another thing I want to say to parents particularly, take time for you in all of this to reduce your stress so that you re-energize for the next day and the next day. And remember, Joel had said sometimes parents may take that extra glass of wine or something. Mr. Leacock, you had said that. I'm sorry.
Yes.
You had said that. And maybe Joel could touch on this. I would say be careful with that, because that becomes the habit, and then the misuse, and then it goes on.
And then the children see.
The children see as well, yes? So I think you have to be careful with that. When you take in your downtime, what you do with your downtime. But that becomes relevant for the parent. Yes?
Yes.
From the teacher's standpoint, let me say, this month, October, we normally have Teacher Professional Day.
That's correct.
Observed during this month. And we have had a consortium of persons, or teachers, or schools asking for personnel to come in and actually, have a discussion with teachers, have a session with teachers to assist them in developing better coping strategies to manage. And I think we have to, as you said, appreciate that it is hard for everyone.
Yes.
Persons are saying, we have a lot of ideas about the life of a teacher and what teachers should do, and the notion that they have lots of holiday every year. There's a whole summer they get off from school, they get the Easter holiday, they get the Christmas holiday. So there's all this time away from school. And as I would read a lot of comments on Facebook about parents and teachers posting and what's not, and persons are saying, well, how is it that these are your wonderful children, but you can't have them home for 3 weeks and you want them back at school, right? And in some cases it was quite funny, but I think people need to step away from the constant back and forth between the teachers and the parents to understand that both groups are essentially trying to work through a new circumstance. And any situation that is new, as Sid mentions, any change brings about anxiety, frustration. Some teachers have never ever taught online platforms before.
That's correct.
As you mentioned, some persons are dynamic in-person teachers. But you put them on a camera or something, or you put them in front of a camera, they're not going to translate that effervescence and that personality and stuff onto a camera. So we need to understand that for some persons, it's not necessarily because a person is older. You may find that some older persons can do the technology quite well, but some younger persons may be just as challenged as some persons of a middle age. So we are trying to understand in this new situation, how can we best help all parties involved? And we said, understanding is critical. All persons need to have some patience with each other, because as the teachers are trying to adjust to this circumstance, we are all human beings. Most of us are parents. So the teachers themselves have kids that they have to be concerned about. And then as the teachers are worried about things like the same risk of COVID to them, are they safe in the environment they're going into? All those are things that they have to consider. So when we're asking them to do all they're accustomed doing under these new circumstances, it is going to be challenging. And then as you said, things are quite fluid. So as things are changing, you're asking them to adjust, because as you do a lesson plan for a classroom, you're normally deciding how will you deliver this lesson. And if your strength is in lecture discussion or your strength is in demonstration, you're going to normally have things that allow you to, you should use multiple formats so that all different persons that learn through different methodologies can get what they need. But you're going to be strong in some areas and weak in other areas. So we need to find ways to ensure that we support the teachers, we support the parents, we support the kids, and the society at large. Because, as we said, at the end of the day, if we don't find ways to ensure that all persons get what they need, there's not going to be the harmony that we need to make it work. And if these schools are not functioning, as we appreciate, parents are going to have to be home with the children. It means that the workplaces can't have the employees that they need to function. It means that the essential services, as far as hospitals and stuff, cannot function the way they need to. So as much as we may say, oh, it's a schooling situation, it's a schooling problem, societal issues. All things come back to everybody's going to be somewhere linked in somehow.
Yes.
So the society is impacted by everything.
Yes.
Tremendously.
Pardon?
I know, I say tremendously.
Tremendously.
It is impacted.
What other organizations do you find should we call on other organizations to assist in helping to stabilize, for want of a better word, everything that's happening? And when you say other organizations, where would you see the church fitting into this gambit?
All right, I'll try and encapsulate what we have been doing and what, in some cases, I guess we need to do more of. As you said, there are many roles played by all agencies or all parties, whether it's NGOs, whether it's faith-based organizations like the church or otherwise. We have obviously seen an increased need for services across the country. And it means that some entities that there already are already being burdened as far as what they're being asked to do. Welfare agencies, charitable organizations, because persons have great needs when it's financial needs, emotional support, whatever the case may be, they do have an increase for need. So when you have perhaps a quarter population suddenly out of work, you can understand there will be a lot of fallout from that. And we have had our fallout.
What did you say, a quarter of the population?
Approximately. During the time we had, I think that much of persons were actually accessing funding from the National Insurance Scheme system. So we use that as our marker as to how many persons were unemployed. So if you have that level of persons being unemployed, that's a large increase. And we can appreciate that that will have many knock-on effects. So we have seen a greater push on whether it's the agencies like the shelter home systems. Those agencies are being called upon more and more to help where needed. These feeding programs that we have, all these things are being pushed more so. We have seen some churches try to step up and actually kind of fill the breach where we have shortfalls and what's not. And I guess my challenge sometimes is that when I think of the church, I always think we should be doing so much more that can be done. Because in times of stress, persons will always turn to a higher power.
Yes.
Because persons, there's something called locus of control. To what extent do we believe that things that are happening around us are within us to control, or there's another external force that will control what is happening? And many persons then will, as you know, they said in times of extreme stress and what's not, people always cry out, oh Lord, have you forsaken me? Or something else that lets them know that there is somebody else that perhaps can come in and render it. If you believe that it is all up to you, and then you can't do any more, that is where sometimes a person feels as though, if I have done all I can do, and it really is on me, then what is the point of me continuing? I can't. So we have things like suicide and stuff become challenging. If persons believe it's all up to them, and they cannot control it anymore, then persons will go the road sometimes of actually taking that final step. So when I say the church, the role the church needs to play, because many times, I'll step a little bit outside the box and hopefully you won't lash me too hard. Persons will say, I tell persons, we would have developed some programs between the hospital and Early Training College, Ministry of Education, a few other entities as well. And we looked at something called basic psych support, which was supposed to be like mental health first aid at another level. And the intention was we looked at all the different groups that we may have to work with, the teachers, first responders, we looked at the clergy. And many things we looked at the clergy, we thought that how does the clergy, first we have to look at is what role does the clergy play in creating stress for persons? Right?
What role does the clergy
or
play?
the church play in creating actual stress? So where you're saying you're going to the church for a solace.
Yes.
In actual fact, some persons actually may end up being stressed by the whole situation. And we know through history it has proven that we have seen how the church viewed mental illness and what's not as being demon possession. So if a person displayed mental illness, they were in olden times deemed that they were possessed by demons, and the treatment was obviously to have them, in some cases, flog the demons out.
Exorcism.
Yes. Exactly. So those are things that we looked at as far as how the church and what's not played a role in those things. Now, in some circumstances, if a person says, if your faith is strong enough, then you should be able to get these things sorted out. So if you don't believe, or if a person says, no, well, it didn't happen for me.
Yes.
My stressors weren't removed, my mental illness wasn't cured. In that person's mind, they tell themselves, my faith wasn't strong enough. So you have now created a situation where a person believes that it's on them, that they are not where they need to be. All right? So I say to persons, it's always important that the clergy as well understand the role that they must play in sometimes removing that guilt from persons. So there's a big role for the church to play. And as I said, I know I'm going to get some lashes on that one.
No
It's
problem,
all right.
no problem,
But
that's fine.
We appreciate that. As I said, when persons do come to the church, they are coming because sometimes, for some it's their first port of call, for others it's the last port of call. So we have to understand that when they come to the church, they must find a welcoming place that they believe that they actually can receive help. And we have found, as I said, some churches are working quite well to assist, but we think that because the church is at the community level, it creates a great opportunity for them to reach out. And actually, as you said, sometimes we have the notion of the church being the building, but we know the church is supposed to be the body of people that actually speak for Christ and what's not. And we want the church to actually go more out into the community and actually do more towards providing that support system. Not only on Sunday or Saturday, whatever day you choose to worship, but on a daily basis, some person should be out there trying to find out, how are you doing, sister? Actually go out there and making that connection with prayer. Because at the end of the day, it is a connection that we have to have. That person understand that there is somebody who's looking out for them, or at least concerned about their well-being.
Okay, so you want, yes, go ahead.
I just want to add to that, in the church maintaining spirituality, giving hope to persons in the community. That's why people come sometimes to sit in the pew, just to hear the word, to get the hope to move on to the next day. And to get that support that David was talking about. And sometimes that's all that a person needs to take the next step and say, oh, I will do well. Just the hope and that support.
Right. They don't need the guilt.
No, they don't need the guilt at all.
They don't need the guilt.
Don't need the
guilt.
guilt.
They need the hope.
The hope, yes.
I'm glad that we're on this point because
Careful, Joel, careful, go ahead.
Yes.
No, I don't want you lash. I don't want you lash that.
I am calm. No lashes, no lashes.
No, I don't want you lashing him, Mr. Leacock, but I want to bring a real life situation. Mr. Leacock mentioned about support on Sundays and stuff like that. And my mother, she goes to church and she will take my son and they have what she will call a nursery. And I'm saying that just like Mr. Leacock said, the church is actually the body of the people. For the church to look into the church and see who they can utilize at this time. Who isn't working. There are persons that are retired that might just want something to do that might not mind taking care of someone's child for a limited amount of time, not saying to make them into a full-time nanny. But they can do stuff like that to help ease the burden of a mother who might have to put in 4 or 5 hours of work. You can also look into the church to see who we're talking about bringing back agriculture, probably looking in church to see who actually is a farmer pig farmer, vegetable farmer, and see what the church can offer somebody who is in need at this time. Because hopefully, and they keep saying that COVID will not last forever, so therefore you just need to support the persons. Don't only this may really take the lot. Don't only take the offering, but I mean,
now you have to put a pause on that.
Just go back and give back to the church and utilize the three persons that are actually in the church
in your congregation,
who have stuff to offer.
I actually, that's a good idea, but then the other challenge will be, how do you connect with people in this era of COVID? Some people hardly want to go visit. If you go to visit persons, are they well? What kind of environment is they're going to be exposed to? So all of these things, those might be excuses. They just might be barriers. So, but I take your point about utilizing our skills, gifts. We can totally ask around. Because basically what is happening is that people are stressed for a number of reasons. Many have lost employment. Some have to take care of their wonderful children. And they've not been accustomed to doing that before. And it's not a full-time job. So the change is traumatic for everybody. So we just need to have some patience. We need to make sure we get some structure. And I know you said this, that parents need to do this for children, but I think all of us need to understand that patience and structure and praise is important. And there's something that you said.
I was just
listening.
Yeah, you need to listen.
Listening.
Yes, becomes important.
Which is an important part of communication, because if any communication element, you have to listen.
You have to listen.
You really have to listen to, because as we said, we often listen sometimes. Right. So we'll see tomorrow, Kofi, okay? So come and see tomorrow. So we have to make sure that the whole issue of persons tend to want to listen for the purpose of saying something or what's not, but we don't sometimes listen to truly understand the viewpoint the other person is coming from. Exactly. We talked about the issue of, and that's what I think with our kids and stuff, with the issue of text messaging and stuff, communication is limited, very limited in using devices and what's not. Emojis are fine, but they really can't communicate
emotionless.
When you speak to someone and you look into their face, as Sid says, sometimes we often say communication is 95% nonverbal.
That's right.
We talk a lot, but what we say doesn't mean a lot. What we say in the context of how we carry ourselves, the expression we have on our face, our body language, all those little things, the intonation of our voice, how we speak, all those things say a lot more about what we're trying to say than what we actually say. As you know, a person may say, as I said, the classic thing when someone says to you, fine. When you hear the word fine from female, it's usually not fine.
Yes.
But you got to listen to it with everything else that she's saying to decide, is it really fine or not? And if she says fine, do I really want to go off and actually do what I think I should be doing, or should I do what she want me to do?
So in that case is what is not being said that you want to take on, yes.
I wanted to say something though, which only came into my mind when Mr. Lee talked about texting and stuff like that. With this new age where school is now online and you have to do a lot of stuff on the computer. Now, here you go, you have a child who could possibly go into class and verbally talk to a teacher back and forth, but now he has to sit down and write. The spelling, can he spell the words? Can he effectively put across his point in a written format? And that might be a challenge.
That'd be a challenge
for the children. So I mean, those are things I didn't want to look at the negatives too much about online and learning, but there are negatives. There's also addiction to on-screen addiction. Those are things that could come off, could spin off from having a child online 24/7, and then when they're actually not in class, they go back onto the. But that might be another topic. But
yes,
there are addictions that could follow from this online teaching and having so much on-screen time.
Yes, so you left us there with that opening, so that you are invited again to return at another point in our series of Candid.
I'll make sure Joel is here for
Exactly.
you. Make sure Joel can have a long chat with
you. Once Mr. Lee allows me to come, I definitely will come.
He can come.
It truly was a pleasure sharing with you. And thank you for taking the time to educate us on the things that we need to do as a people, because our society is stressed at the moment. And so let me just say, we need to listen.
Yes.
We need to make sure we have structure.
Yes.
Patience.
And we need to have patience.
And a break. Don't forget to take the break for everyone.
And for everything, we need to take a break.
Yes.
Thank you. This is the break that we take. Awesome.